You're watching Day or Night X. X is for exotics. And I got a question, and this is a question I get all the time. And this is my good girl Lucy, my little companion that I'm probably going to have in a lot of my vids. Seems like every single time I make one of these vids, she wants to get out and participate, or at least be lazy participating. Anyway, on this video, we're talking about our Grammostola porteris, good first-time beginner tarantulas. And there have been a lot of videos made on this topic, but since someone specifically asked me, and it's a question I get a lot, so I thought I would address it. In my opinion, it is. Now, I know a lot of people say that they can be very temperamental and they can be unpredictable and they have a tendency to be bipolar and all that. I've had a lot of porteries. I've had a lot of red color forms, brown color forms, any of my Grammostolas, period, I recommend every single one of them because they are not anywhere close to what I hear a lot of people saying. None of my Grammostolas are bipolar. They never have been. Now, I will say this. A lot of people say, well, I have a mean one. But what they're not telling you is sometimes they've gotten one that maybe have had an owner that has handled them way too much. Maybe they're wild caught, etc., etc. Every single situation is different, so you have to kind of take that into consideration. If you raise one up, obviously that tarantula is going to be a lot used to you more than if you got one from a pet store and they're 6, 7, 10 years old. Dynamically, that's a big difference in time that animal has spent with you to get comfortable with you. All my tarantulas are comfortable with me. I can almost guarantee you I can pretty much handle every single tarantula in my collection, including my pokies, if I wanted to, because they're used to me. And people say, it's a damn spider. There's no way they could be used to you. They do get used to you. Just like a reptile, they do get used to you. In fact, my very first tarantula I ever had is the one you're looking at on the screen right now, and that's my Grammostola. Then it was a Grammostola rosea. My Grammostola porteri. Her name is Queen Rose. I call her Rose, or Queen. Most of the time I call her Queen. She, when I first got her, was a little bit mean. As she has gotten used to me, I can handle her anytime I want, and she's usually the ones, if I do a program or I take her to a show, if people come over my house and they want to see a tarantula, she's always the one I get out because she will literally go in anybody's hand. I've gotten her to the point where she'll do that. When I first got her, there was no way in hell she would have done that. I know that for a fact because I used to try. And it wasn't a beginner thing. There was experienced people who used to come to my house and try to handle that tarantula, and she just was not having it. Now I can get her to go in pretty much anybody's hand. And that's because she's comfortable with me. Same with my pokies, same with my brachypymas. Now, do I have some mean tarantulas? I may do some unpredictable stuff. Of course I do. When I had my OBT, would I have tried to handle her? No. Could I have? I'm pretty sure I could have. I just wouldn't want to. So obviously there's certain species you would do that with, but we're going to talk about the porteri here. They don't get very big, so they're not very intimidating size-wise. The hairs don't really give me that much trouble. And for the most part, they eat very well. They don't take up a lot of space. Like I said, they don't get that big. They're incredible webbers. They molt pretty frequently, and they're beautiful animals to look at. So there's no downside really to getting one of them. The only downside I see to getting a Grammostola porteri is the fact that a lot of times you're getting them from a pet store that may not have taken care of them properly, and you might get an animal home and they might die on you in a few months because you don't know A, how old they are, B, how well they've been taken care of, and C, where they came from. So that's pretty much how I look at it. I mean, where they come from and how old they are really important factors on what their temperament may be like. If you're raising from a sling, if you get one as a sling, obviously there's nothing to worry about there. They're this big, so there's nothing really to worry about. I would say the biggest thing you would have to worry about with that is that you got to wait so long for them to get to a point where they actually would show you any type of aggression at all, which would be years after you got it as a sling. So the reputation they get, I don't think always warrants it. In fact, it's definitely an opinion-based, person-by-person, case-by-case basis. And like I said, I've owned a lot. I've owned over 10 of them, probably close to 12 to 13 porteries in my lifetime, and a lot of them were rescues. And even then, they weren't vicious animals. They don't have bad temperaments. That's in my opinion. Now, again, have I seen some that have been very bad-tempered? Of course I have. But that's just like a human being. You're gonna see nice human beings. You're gonna see not so nice human beings. The same thing applies to the animal kingdom. You can't just put them all inside of a jar and say they're all the same. It doesn't work that way. So mine have been worked with. Even the ones that have been rescued, I've worked with them, and they've all gotten comfortable enough where I can hold in my hand. We're talking about the portery here. We're not talking about anything else. We're talking about the portery. They make very good pets, and they make very good first-time pets, tarantulas, for beginners. There's a reason why they're the most readily available animal, tarantula-wise, you can get at any pet store. And that's because they are so adaptable and they aren't vicious. And even the people who don't know how to take care of them at those stores aren't so freaked out by them that they might, go crazy. Because, I mean, obviously, if you have something like a pokey in there that's blindingly fast, venom is a lot more potent, they do not want to be handled, that's a little more intimidating for somebody who's a first-time tarantula owner. Grammostola porteri are pet rocks for the most part. You may get some that are kind of active. For the most part, they're pet rocks. So, yes, my recommendation is, if you're a beginner, I think is absolutely the most perfect one you can get outside of something like a Euathlid species red, if you can find it at a decent enough age, or a curly hair, a Brachypelma albopilosum, a good first-time tarantulas. I recommend almost any Brachypelma as a first-time tarantula. They can get on a little more expensive side. They're not as cheap as the Grammostolas, but they are very good animals to raise up. Paraphyses, but I would say paraphyses, Euathlid species, Grammostola species, Brachypelma species, you can't go wrong with them. I don't really think there's any downside to them. They can be mean, but again, for the most part, I would say 90% of the time they aren't. They're defensive animals. They can be defensive, hair kicking, but as far as just reeling back, doing a threat posture, showing their veins, their fangs, like a pokey or OBT or S. calceatum or something like that, you're not going to really get that all that often unless you just have a really pissed off, mean portery, and a very bad example of it. If that's the case, then I'm sorry that none of this applies to you. You just got yourself one with an attitude. But for the most part, I recommend them. And again, even if you have one with a little attitude, I don't handle all my teas all the time anyway. So outside of handling, there's really no need to even worry about them being aggressive, or they're mean. There's no need to even worry about it, because you shouldn't be interacting with them all that much to begin with, outside of feeding them, looking at them, changing them their enclosures out when they need to be rehoused and stuff like that. So outside of that, I would say have fun with it. Me personally, one of my favorite teas in my collection is the most pissed off tea in my collection. That's my Formitivus cancera teas, the Haitian brown bird eater. She's a bitch, and that's why I love her. Because of the personality. Most of them are pet rocks. They don't do anything. So when you get one that has a little bit of attitude, enjoy it. It's pretty cool too. That's why we have these animals. You get to see stuff that you would never ever see out in a normal case with fish, or a turtle, or something like that. So tarantulas are unique in that way. So enjoy that aspect of it, that you can get one with an attitude. They're fun when they have attitude sometimes. Because you're not interacting with them all that much. You're observing them, So that's my recommendation. I recommend Grammostola porteri as a first-time beginner tarantula. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Hit that notification button so you don't miss an episode, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, be safe, be you, and be genuine.